Everyone, thank you again for coming and enjoying our webinar Wednesday. We're on week 3, and I have such a treat for you tonight. We're going to be able to spend all 30 minutes with one of my favorite people, Becky Rogers, and we're going to be able to really dive into some really amazing stuff, some really great insight and ideas to make your 2017 the best year ever. Right, Becky?
Hope you're ready.
I know. Oh my gosh. I'm excited for this. I'm seriously going to be referring back to this recording over and over and over, even after we're done here tonight. So I have been looking forward to this. And I just want to say, first of all, Becky, you have every excuse in the book not to be here tonight. Okay. I want everybody to understand that this is something that I see in very successful women is if they commit to something, they just do it. They find a way to be here. And, we're excusing, of course, Wendy Starling Gardner. She is an amazing, successful woman. There was some things that she just couldn't, change in her life tonight. And so with that being said, she's highly successful. But one thing that I've noticed with successful women is they just roll with it. They just make it work. Becky, to give you just a tiny bit of information about Becky, she has 10 children. And you heard that right. Not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9. She has 10 kids. Okay, so she's a busy mom, and she's amazing at being a mother, and her family comes first. Now, she also she's a coach and she's a mentor. She's a body talk practitioner. She also has I will have her describe it. She has a life story. How would you describe it, Becky? Life story.
It's a lifestyle.
Lifestyle. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's something we're going to be talking a little bit about tonight. For those of you that really want to learn how to create things in your life. Many people talk about manifesting and making things happen with those positive thoughts and law of attraction, but we're going to go deeper than that.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And then not only does she do those things, but she also is an amazing humanitarian. She takes groups of people to Ghana to help the people in that area build sustaining business practices and give them the resources that they need to be successful, and even brings life story down to them. I know this because one of her beautiful colleagues that she works with wrote a story in the upcoming book, Success Through Failing, Finding Our Greatest Gifts in Our Darkest Hours. Christina Kamasi I said Christina, it's Christine, right? Christine.
Yeah.
Christine Kamasi actually wrote a chapter and described the power of life story in her own life. And it was pretty amazing to see that even in Africa, third world country, that they can apply this information that you're going to be able to share with us tonight. So I'm so excited. So I'm going to start off with, Becky, just tell me a little bit about yourself, and then tell me a little bit about why you decided that you wanted to be a part of the book and what your definition of success is.
Thank you, first of all, for inviting me. This is such a privilege for me. It's such an honor to be here and to be part of this project. I think for me, being part of this book is just, it's a little bit surreal because I still fail every day and I have crazy things. And I think, I have epic fails as a mom. I have epic fails, with even with commitments with people where, I forgot to call someone back or it moves down my feet or, just all kinds of different things or things that I think are going to go one way and they go, some other funny way. The thing that I found is that it just is all part of that perfect journey. It's all part of that perfect path, even if it doesn't necessarily look like it at the time.
Yeah.
And, I shared a story before a few weeks ago when we were actually on our trip. And it's just coming up to my mind right now. So I'll just tell it really quickly. But on our last humanitarian trip we were on, we took, I think we had 56 checked bags of supplies that we were taking, plus 20 carry-ons. And I had no idea how we were going to get that through customs. And my son, who was with me, who has lived in Ghana for a time, an extended period of time, and he's been back to visit several times. And he just was saying, "Mom, I don't know how we're going to do this. I don't know. I hope you're prepared to lose some of these bags. We can't control this much baggage on the ground where we are." And every time I tried to figure it out, I just had this impression that it was going to be okay, and just let it happen. I didn't have to know what we were going to do. I didn't have to have a plan. I didn't have to have it figured out. And so on our way coming in on the landing, I also had my 9-year-old daughter with me on this trip, and she got motion sick and threw up all over in there. It was horrible. And I just thought, oh, like, you can't control that, right? Like, you can't control the smell. Like, everyone's going to know. There's some things you just can't hide. And that's a big one. So, and I just thought, oh, I mean, so here I am. I'm thinking, like, now what do I do? Big failure, right? But then all of a sudden I just had this thought, wait a second, this is that. And so so the people on our team were saying, well, do we need to clean her up before we go get our bags and go through customs? And I just said, nope, we're going to take her through just like, I mean, it was in her hair. Oh. It was like the poor thing, you know, like she really took one for the team.
Yeah, she did.
The story. And so I just said, no, we're going to take her straight through like this. And so we were a huge spectacle with all of our luggage and baggage. I mean, like, they were not going to miss us. We did not look like tourists in the slightest coming through there. So here she is, and I just stood her in front of the lady at customs, and I just said, I need to deal with this. What do you need from me? She's like, oh, I need to see in this bag and this one, and she opened the exact perfect bags, and then she just waved us through because it was pretty nasty. So that's just been a kind of a metaphor, if you will, for success through failing, actually. I mean, when you look at it, you just think that's epic fail proportions there. Nothing you can do about it, really, right? It just is one of those things that just happened, but it actually turned out to be the perfect part of the journey to get us where we needed to be in the easiest way possible. Right? It just went so smoothly. We walked, she just waved us right straight through customs, and my son turned to me and he says, that has never happened before. Wow. That has never gone like that before. Wow. And so I just, after, we got her all cleaned up and fixed up, and I gave her a big hug, and I thanked her. I said, thanks for taking one for the team. Poor thing, and on the way home, she was all worried that she was going to get motion sick on the flight again. I said, oh, you're going to be fine, because that was just because we needed to get through customs, and right. You're totally fine. And she did great. And but anyway, that's just kind of a little bit of why I'm excited to be part of this project, because sometimes life is just like that.
Yeah. It is.
Right?
And I love that you talk about not knowing the answers, but just moving forward in faith and courage that it's going to work out, right? And I think that's what we try to do so much in this world, is we try to control things. Once we decide our why, instead of just allowing the process to unfold and for us to be receptive of the answers, you quiet your mind, your soul will speak. You'll hear those answers, right? But sometimes we're so you could have been in a panic the whole flight over there and not been open to receiving what was going to happen. You just let it happen. You let it unfold. And I just think that's beautiful. That's so amazing, because how many of us would feel completely out of sorts the entire way? And I'm going to tell you, probably me, Becky, that would feel like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And, but you were like, you know what? I'm supposed to take this. It's going to happen.
Well, I think it's important to realize here, and this is kind of LIFEstory comes in, and the LIFEstory lifestyle is that part of that feeling calm and feeling peaceful in a situation like that is being able to picture the outcome of what you want to have happen, because you can come into that situation two different ways. You can come in just totally trusting that it's going to work out and that the right outcome is going to happen, and then you just have to hold that picture of coming through customs and having it just go completely smoothly, easily, effortlessly. Or you can spend your time in panic and fear about it, and our thought process is so strong that you will create either one of those outcomes, wherever, because by the time you put your thoughts and then you put your words behind them, and then you light that with the energy of your emotion,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You have actually more control than you think of the outcome of that, if you can control how you're thinking about it. And so I think that's the important piece to note, that even when you're in a stressful situation like that, if you can keep focused on the desired outcome that you want, and keep clear of the fear around it, then you actually have more control than you think.
I love that. Remember Sharon Lecter once said, worrying is a silent prayer for what you don't want.
What you don't want.
Right?
It really is.
So as we worry, you're right. Our thoughts go towards what we don't want. And that's what we're such powerful creators. That's what we create. We create
So
exactly what we don't want.
Yes.
And so, okay, so this is a perfect segue. Let's talk a little bit about LIFEstory. What is that? And so many people that are going to be watching this are going to want their 2017 to be different in some part of their life. We all do, right? We all want to improve. We all want to grow. We all want to make big things happen in our life. So tell me a little bit about what LIFEstory is and how does it help manifest things that you really desire in your life?
Well, it's funny because one of my kids this week has been calling it flash transformation.
Wow, sounds like a superhero.
So all the superhero movies are out, so we're just rolling with it. Flash transformation. No, well, actually, yeah, it kind of is that, but it has to do with utilizing the words that you speak. We have a saying in our family. I actually recorded a CD on this a little while ago, and that's available on the LIFEstory Transformation website, about the importance of the words that we use when we're speaking out loud. Even in my body talk practice, I can usually tell right away what's happening when I overhear my clients talking about their health, and I realize, oh yeah, that they actually have in their life exactly what they're talking about. And that's what LIFEstory is about. If you actually become conscious and aware of the words that you're saying, the words that are coming out of your mouth all of the time, it's about that. It's about learning how to control what you say and what you listen to. So in our family, we have this saying that is actually the title of the CD, and it's, is that what you want? Is that what you want? So if somebody's speaking in our family and they say something that's even the slightest bit negative, it doesn't really have to be negative. If it's just not what you want to have happen, don't let those words come out of your mouth, because the truth of the matter is our words are so powerful. That is how we create, because words are symbols of energy. And so when we use our words, they automatically begin that process of creation and coming to fruition. So the words that we are thinking are so powerful. But then when we speak them, they're even more powerful. And then if you actually write them down, you'll see them yesterday. And so I actually am very intrigued sometimes when I'm on Facebook, watching what people will post on Facebook, and some people will post things on there like, take it back. That's not what you want. Is that what you want? If it's not what you want, don't say it. Don't let it come out of your mouth. So,
right.
So I tell a funny story with this, because my sister-in-law one day was, I think her family was at a park or something for some family gathering, Memorial Day or something like that. And she was actually laying down on the grass, kind of under a tree, but under the sky. And she saw these birds flying overhead, and she just had this thought, what if one of those birds pooped in my mouth? And that's so ridiculous, right? And so random, like that's just like one of those fleeting thoughts, right? Well, she fell asleep on the grass, and guess what happened? Sure enough, this bird flies over her, drops it right smack in her mouth, and that's how she woke up. And so we have all kinds of funny stories in our family and jokes that we tell about this that really aren't jokes. It's not a joking matter. It's not a joking matter. If you want to have better health, you have to talk about your health how you want it to be. If you want to have better finances, you have to stop talking about being broke. You have to stop talking about not being able to afford it. You have to stop saying all of that junk that is not in alignment with what you want to have happen in your life. Because if you listen to what you're saying in just your regular passing conversation with people, you'll find you have exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, wow. So I'm just curious, Becky, my family is super sarcastic, like all the time.
Yeah.
Do we need to watch that? Do we need to be careful? Because we do. We're just kind of jokey kind of family. But sometimes there's always an element of truth, don't you think, in what we say with that even though it's sarcastic, there's always a little bit of element of truth. Otherwise it wouldn't come out of our mouth. So I'm just curious, is sarcasm not such a great thing?
It depends on what you want.
Okay.
It's all about what you want. So literally sarcastic remarks. The problem is that your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
So whatever you say is going to happen.
Interesting.
It just will, you know. And early on when I started to build out these ideas and started to use them in my own life to completely do a 180 in my life from the words that I was speaking, you know. I had this funny experience going to dinner with my husband one night, and we were going to go. It was New Year's Day, so it was January. It was cold. We wanted to go to Cafe Rio to dinner, and he on the way driving there. And this was back when I was teaching these kinds of things, and he would kind of like roll his eyes, like do the slow blink. Here she goes again, you know, that kind of thing. Now he's totally a believer. Totally.
That's awesome. Yay! That's
early on. He would just be like, you know. And I would tell him, like, this is why the cars drive different for me than they do for you, you know, because that vibration that we put ourselves in, that we create with our words, we're going to attract different things into our lives. And so if you're always talking about, you know, sad things or things that make you angry or things that you're afraid of, just don't talk about anything that you're afraid of. Don't do it. Because that is such a strong emotion, it'll just pull it straight to you. Anyway, we were going to go to dinner, and he said, well, the problem with Cafe Rio is all of the seats are in front of the door, so we're going to freeze to death, you know. And I said, well, you know what, we could just decide right now in the car what seat we want, and we'll just think about having that seat and picture ourselves sitting there in that spot, right? Like the one in the corner far away from the door. And he said, and he kind of made fun of me, and he said, so you mean to tell me that if I say that there's a fireplace at Cafe Rio, they will have been, you know, built a fireplace there between now just because I said it? And I said, well, no, but, you know, let's just see what happens. And so sure enough, so we go into the restaurant. My table's totally open. There's a tiny speck of food on it, but there's a stack of napkins just waiting right there for me. So I just cleared it off. We sat in our exact spot that we wanted to sit in.
Oh.
The funny thing was that the following week, because we typically try to do like a Friday date night kind of thing. So the following week we ended up at Neaters. And we walked in the door, and they have a huge fireplace, right?
That's awesome.
So I just turned to him and I said, there's your fireplace. You spoke it, and there it is. So anyway, we just noticed those kinds of things happening all the time, showing up all the time. So that's basically the gist of Life Story, is speaking the words, using your words, writing it down, the things that you want to have happen, and then holding that picture of with the feeling behind it, the emotion of what it feels like to already have accomplished it and have achieved it. And that's basically the formula. It's not all that new, but one of the things that I struggled with early on, years ago, I had a mentor that taught me a lot of these kinds of things. And the thing that I couldn't figure out how to do was how to control my thinking long enough to get something different, you know. And so what we've done with Life Story is just kind of built in a way to do that for you. So that's what we're doing. It's a lifestyle built with a lot of very strong intentions around creation, and the group of manifestors that are working on that just sort of amplifies it for everyone who participates in it. So it's pretty awesome.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And, you know, I'm just really excited. I'm going to be taking your class here before too long, but I know I'm very, very excited about that. But even in the last couple of years, I've learned to, again, stop living in fear and scarcity, especially when it comes to money. I feel like so many people have such a bad relationship with money, and it's not so much that they're wanting money, they're wanting the experiences. And so I've encouraged some of the people that I work with to just, again, stop. A lot of times people will just assume they can't have something because they don't see the resources or where those resources are coming from. And I had something that just recently happened to me where my lifelong trip that I really, really wanted to go to was Italy with my husband. We've wanted that since we were married 27 years ago. And so I decided to just do an experiment and just really live in that place. I'm going to be in Italy. And I pictured myself, where I was going, what I was doing, exactly the temperature in Italy when we were there. And literally within 3 weeks of making that decision and living in that place, I had an email from a newsletter that I paid for. I'd never paid for a newsletter in my life. And I happened to pay for a newsletter that someone recommended, and got tickets for a ridiculously low price, like the low 400s, to go to Italy, which I've only seen $1,200 tickets before. And it just so happened that I had money at that time to be able to invest in that. And the temperature was perfect. The week before, it had rained the entire week. We got there, weather was unbelievable, just perfect, not too hot, not too cold. We got to see everything that we wanted to see. And so when I got home, and I was so excited about that, I wanted to manifest going to Paris. And 2 weeks later, I got this newsletter again where I could get tickets for $320 round trip from my city to Paris. So we're taking the entire family in March. And,
Awesome.
it's been really, really an exciting and fun year, because I'm finally getting to the point where I don't have to worry about how it's going to happen. That's not even my concern. I just have to decide what I want to create. And so I'm just excited to take your class, because I think that's just going to amp it up even more so.
It will.
And really just live. Now, does that mean we don't have bad days, Becky?
No, heavens no. Well, it depends. It depends on what you qualify as a bad day, right?
Yeah.
When you realize what it costs you to have a bad day, and the power of your mind to just shift it and just to change it and to see it from a different perspective, you have fewer bad days.
I love that. I love that. But even when we do have bad days, we forgive ourselves a lot easier, right? It's okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just trust that it's part of the journey that you're on, and it's like that barf. You know what I mean? It's just actually, if you look at it as a way to just move you closer to what you want anyway.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it's doing. And I've had with several of my clients, when they'll do the LIFEstory program, and then things will start to shift and start to change. I had I remember one gal, awesome girl. And I heard through the grapevine within like 2 weeks that the bottom had fallen out of her world. Like her job changed. She broke up with her boyfriend, just all of these different things. And this is actually part of the LIFEstory lifestyle, is being able to recognize when things are shifting, when they're actually working. Because typically we have things lined up in our lives that are holding certain patterns and certain beliefs for us, but they're keeping us from having what we actually want. So once we define what we want, you have to sometimes be ready for a little bit of divine chaos.
Oh, I love that. And just to expect that. In fact, I just finished up the preface in our book, and that's one of the things that I kind of wrote was I stepped into full-time entrepreneurship a few years back. I'd always dipped my toe in because I loved that lifestyle. I loved the creation. I loved the freedom that being an entrepreneur provided, but that fear of stability and security kind of held me back. So I plunged into it thinking, oh, this is going to be great. And then again, that divine chaos just erupted all around me. Yeah. And I wish I would have had that perspective, because I think it would have been a lot easier to go through. It will be in future, because I know, the divine chaos will probably occur again sometime in my life. But I love how you said that, because, at the time I perceived it as failure. Oh my gosh, I totally didn't meet my goals. I didn't meet what I was set out to do when I quit my job. But look at where I'm at now. I'm aligned with 25 amazing, incredible, inspirational, transformational women that I would have never met
Right.
had I not taken the leap into this world. And wow, if I would have been able to see where I was going clear back then, that going through those rough, tough times would have been a little bit easier, or at least just knowing this is part of it. This is part of the process.
Yeah. If you learn to see it as movement towards your goal, and just, and it's bringing up your stuff so that you can work through it, so that you can move to a higher level.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So if you can kind of see that, just think of it as the barf. It's going to get you through what
I'm going to say that the next time.
What you need. It might not be pretty. It might not be pretty. What you can't afford to do is to get down and dirty in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you get down and dirty and let it drag you into a low vibration around stuff, then you'll just attract more crap.
Yeah. We don't want more barf. Wait, we can have a little barf, but not too much barf, right?
Well, you just have to know how to see it. You know what I mean? And so that you don't allow it to change where you're going. Your trajectory, right? Because sometimes if you're going this way and and some of that stuff happens, it's usually to get you this way. But if you get all down in it and then you go this way with it, then you're going to not have what you want out of it. Yeah. You're going to, you'll turn it the opposite direction, and that's what you don't want. That's what I'm saying. When you really understand how it works and what's happening, and you understand what it costs you to have a bad day, then you start to realize, okay, what can I do to change? Like, what do I need to see about this that makes me realize, and for me, one of the things that I do is I just think of people that I know that have real challenges. When I feel like I can't take any more, or I'm totally overwhelmed, or I'm totally, losing it, I can always think of friends that I have who I would not trade homes with, and I'm like, actually, I'm good.
Yeah. And I think our book actually provides some of that. It
absolutely does.
Christine Kamasi, your friend from Ghana, has a chapter, and I don't want to do any spoiler alerts. I don't want to spoil it for everybody, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So just suffice it to say that this woman has gone through incredible hardships, incredible pain in her life, and yet she rose through it. And when you read that and you go, it wasn't meant to make us feel guilty, but it's meant to give us perspective on, wow, you know what? If Christine can go through what she did to become a leader of women, to become a role model, I can do this. I got this. I can do this.
You definitely don't want to miss her chapter.
Oh my goodness. I cried, Becky.
Good.
It was so beautiful. Oh,
she cried too when she told it.
Oh,
so I was hoping we could capture that in the book.
Oh,
it's very much it's still very raw for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And what a beautiful friend you are to bring her as part of this project and to
such a privilege. Such a privilege on my part.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and wrapping up, I just want to ask you now you kind of gave us lots of golden nuggets throughout this whole thing. But if someone were to come to you and say, Becky, if there's one bit of advice you can give to me, one secret sauce that you can give to me to improve my life and create more success in my life, what would it be? And even if you said it already, you can reiterate that, but just what would that be? What would that advice be?
Well, I would say to fully understand the power of your words.
Okay.
I really would say that, because I actually had to give a talk and I was supposed to have a couple of hours to present to these women. And by the time we got there, this was actually in Ghana. By the time we got there, we found out we had about 15 minutes. And so I was like, I'm not going to even be able to get into anything of what I was going to do with them. So I had to actually boil it down about that quick in my mind and say, what is the most important thing I could tell them? And that's what came to me as well. And afterwards, it was very interesting because they came up to talk to me afterwards, and it was actually the Christian Mothers Association, and so it was so fun to speak to them because I felt like we were sisters, and they came up to talk to me afterwards, and one of the women was she said what do I do about my son? He's doing marijuana, he's gainfully employed, I don't know what his problem is, he's going to lose his job, he's going to go to jail, he's going to blah 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 blah. And she went on, and I just said, okay, just a second, you cannot let any of those words come out of your mouth about this. And she said, well, what do I do? And I said, well, if it's in his highest and best good to go to jail, then we'll just let that happen. Right? But if it's not, then you don't want to create that by speaking that way about it. So you said he's gainfully employed, he has a good job. Yes? And she said, yes. And I said, then you have to talk about that. When you talk to your friends, tell them about all of the great things that he's doing. Talk to them about, all of the times that he does wonderful things. Don't let any words come out of your mouth about the things that he's doing that are ruining his life, because you're actually contributing to the creation of his performance with that. And so it was very funny because then I went back 6 months later and I met with them again. And I just asked them if they remembered anything that we had talked about before. And I had forgotten this. This is how it had come across in the talk. But one of the women, she said, yes. She said, you taught us how to pray differently for our children.
Oh.
And we've already seen the results. And that's what I taught them, was the power of their words in their prayers for their children and for their families, and praying with that image of what they want to have happen instead of the things that they're afraid of. And thanking God for these results in advance.
Yeah.
Oh, and so just that helped them to change their minds. Anyway, I had forgotten that the whole conversation had gone that direction, but they remembered it and they said, we've already seen results from that. And so that's probably my biggest thing that I would say. Just pay super, super close attention to what you say. And that CD is a little bit of a download for your brain, so that when you're talking, you have a little shoulder angel that says, is that what you want?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because as soon as you can start catching yourself before those words come out, and you start noticing what you're saying, that's the sweet spot.
Wow. What a beautiful gift. What a beautiful gift right before Christmas, right before the new year, to be able to create what we want with the power of words, to really focus on what we want, not what we don't want, to really catch ourselves in creating it through the words that we say and the thoughts that we have, and not to let fear get in the way of creating big dreams too. So thank you so much. So just in wrapping up, I just want to reiterate one more time that the book, Success Through Failing, Finding Our Greatest Gifts in Our Darkest Hours, will be available January 17th in the electronic form. Pre-sales will happen starting January 2nd, and then we will have the actual tangible book available February 4th when we have our Success Summit. Now, the Success Summit's going to be in Sandy, Utah on February 4th. It's an all-day event, and you get to hear from lovely Becky Rogers amongst the other authors in breakout sessions where she's going to talk for 45 minutes about really diving into this information. So if you want to hear her, you want to make sure that you get tickets as soon as you can. This will sell out. This event is going to sell out. We will have live stream tickets available as well. But if you are in Utah or even close to Utah, you want to make an effort to be there in person with the energy and the vibration in that room, right? We're going to have a general session in the morning with some incredible entertainment. The afternoon's going to be breakout sessions. All of it will be recorded so you can hear all of the content, even if you can't be in certain rooms. And those tickets are available. You can go to Success Through Failing and you can get links to connect with Becky on there or connect with myself. She has all of her information on there. And also there's a link to get tickets. The official link to get tickets is successthroughfailing.ticketleap.com. But if you don't remember that, just go to Success Through Failing. You'll be able to get on there. There's also a link to our Facebook page. So make sure that you follow us along. We've got awesome tips every single day. And we would just be honored to have you as part of our journey to creating this amazing movement with some pretty impressive women. So,
and when you come to the launch on the 4th, Wendy will share her newsletter.
We cut out a little bit, Beck. Say that one more
she
time.
gets all. I said when you come to the launch, you'll give them the tips for where you get your amazing airfares.
There you go. See, I could do that. Absolutely. I'd be more than happy to give that information along with a lot of other things. So
put that out there. Just saying.
Okay. Awesome. Well, anything else you want to say before we leave, Becky?
I'm just excited. I'm excited for 2017, beginning of this year. We had kind of a thing going that we haven't seen anything yet. We could tell big things were on the horizon in 2016, and we have not been disappointed. Really, really spectacular things have happened, and we're just reiterating that for 2017, we haven't seen anything yet.
Oh, I love it. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, Becky. I am going to be listening.
Ready. Big stuff.
Oh, love it. All right. Well, thank you for being with us. And we will be sending out this recording to those that weren't able to come tonight and also putting it on our Facebook page. So thanks again, Becky, and have a wonderful Christmas. Okay. Good night.